Today I'm at a VW Media Day, and here we are looking at the Arteon Shooting Brake eHybrid. As the name might suggest, it's a plug-in hybrid estate with roughly 38 miles on the WLTP cycle. Prices start from roughly £45,000, and the model that we actually have is the R line with a few different options fitted on top, which takes the asking price up to £51,000. So to kick off, let's talk about its performance. And here there is a 1.4 litre turbocharged engine located at the front of the vehicle, of course, and when combined with an 80 kilowatt motor, it means that the system outputs 160 kilowatts, which is the equivalent of 215 horsepower. There's 400 Newton meters of torque and a top speed of 138 miles an hour. We actually had it tested from 0 to 60 miles an hour via RaceLogic's VBox Sport at just 7.41 seconds, which is very much in line with what the manufacturer claims. Now, aside from this, there is also a 6-speed DSG gearbox whereby you can adjust it on the fly using the flappy paddles, or of course if you were to shift on the left side on the gear selector, it allows you to have manual mode. Of course, you can let the vehicle do it on its own via drive mode, and the changes between the gears is actually pretty seamless. There's only a little bit of a delay when you initiate a kickdown, so that's just something that you should be aware of, but otherwise than this, it was actually pretty smooth and quite impressive for a vehicle of its class. Now, this does actually bring us on to the transition between pure EV power and petrol power. Now, frankly, there is no way of actually distinguishing yourself while you're sat behind the wheel between the two modes. It is absolutely seamless. So for example, right now I was in petrol mode and now I've shifted into EV mode, and I couldn't hear it nor could I feel it. I can just see it via the instrument cluster. There's a little indication, and here you can see the dial going blue where it's in EV mode and then white when it's going into petrol mode. Volkswagen should really be commended as to how seamless this transition is. And this does actually perfectly bring us on to its EV range, whereby one should be able to attain roughly 30 miles, of course in mixed driving conditions. In our model we actually got a lot less, but that's because it's been driven by other journalists as well, so we can't really attest to what the manufacturer is claiming, which is 38 miles from its 13 kilowatt hour battery pack, nor can we really say as to this has been driven in a realistic fashion, because some people will be putting their foot down, including myself. Now, in this respect as well, if you come to run out of juice, then you will want to recharge it. There's a charging port found at the front of the vehicle. It's a CCS port to be more specific, and via a regular wall box you should be able to attain 0 to 100% in roughly 3.5 hours. If you were to go on a 3-pin socket instead, it will take you roughly 5 hours. Now, I should also mention, in terms of the miles per gallon that you should be able to attain, it is a little bit hard for me to say because it is a short drive, and again it's been driven by other journalists, but through the instrument cluster I can see it hovering between 25 to 40 miles per gallon. Of course, it does go absolutely high and ballistically high when I'm in pure EV mode at 600 odd miles per gallon, but nonetheless, over here, from my previous experience of driving Volkswagen vehicles, you should be able to attain roughly 35 to 45 miles per gallon. But we'd be intrigued to hear what miles per gallon that you would expect going into a hybrid vehicle, and what sort of figure that you would actually like to attain. Now, aside from all of this, we should have a quick word on the vehicle's interior, which in our opinion is quite stylish. However, we're not too fond of the touch-sensitive haptic buttons that can be found on the steering wheel. Indeed, VW has omitted physical buttons, much like the manufacturer's fully electric ID models, and therefore means that sometimes you'll have some mistouch operations. Now, similarly, the climate controls are not physical either, but thankfully they do have their own designated area, saving you from faffing around with the infotainment system. Speaking of which, the 8-inch multi-touch display is vivid, responsive, and intuitively laid out. Better still, it supports wired and wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, both of which are great additions. On the subject of technology, there are 8 lively speakers positioned throughout the cabin and a 10.25-inch fully digitalized instrument cluster that provides all the right information one might need. Now, should you want to heighten the experience, one can add a £575 option in form of a head-up display, which props up from the dashboard, allowing you to keep your eyes fixated on the road, as it provides all the key driving information such as your speed, the safety systems in operation, and even can display navigation data too. too. Now when it comes to comfort, the main 4 seats are accommodating, with the front 2 being manually adjustable. Here, both headroom and legroom are a non-issue, with excellent optimization at the rear of the cabin to cater for taller sized individuals. However, there is a pretty large transmission tunnel, and therefore means the rear middle occupant might be left a little bit more uncomfortable on longer journeys. Now, should you not have a rear middle occupant, then you will find a armrest which reveals 2 cup holders. Now, this perfectly brings us onto storage, whereby at the rear it's acceptable with the door bins, but frankly it's at the front of the cabin where there are more areas to store your goods. There's the glove compartment, the larger front door bins, the center console where at the front it can house a smartphone thanks to a non-slip area, and then underneath the armrest area there's a small sized area for you to place a purse or a wallet. Now what really stands out is its boot capacity, and indeed over here the Arteon Shooting Brake is an estate and therefore can very much accommodate a lot even with the seats propped up. 455 litres to be specific. Now granted, this is a little lower than the non-hybrid variant, which sits at 590 litres due to the positioning of the battery, but we still suspect the eHybrid model will suffice for most. Especially if you were to drop the seats, there's ample amount of room. 60/40 rear split folding seats are fitted as standard, with through loading made possible thanks to the inclusion of a ski latch. The underfloor compartment is also pretty large, where it can easily accommodate your charging cables. To add the cherry on top, the electric tailgate that comes fitted as standard opens up quite high, allowing for taller individuals to load in and out goods with absolute ease. And finally, we get onto its exterior design, and of course this is very much of a subjective matter, but we think it looks very snazzy. It has this rather aggressive look at the front with its droopy bonnet design, and has beautiful 19-inch alloys that come fitted as standard. The headlight and taillight design are very much fitting, and the estate look is of course very much distinctive. Now it's available in a few different colours, such as the flat moonstone grey, which comes as standard, but should you want a metallic finish, it'll cost upwards of £705, with the King's Red metallic finish that we have coming in at a whopping £1,165. So there we have it, our quick drive of the VW Arteon Shooting Brake eHybrid. We'd be curious to know what you make of the vehicle down in the comment section below, and of course if you've liked this video, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which are greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.